Hey everyone, it's Talya and Ayurveda every day with Talya. Sorry, I got a weird message when the video started. So I am finally making this video that actually I made a while back and then I deleted because I was just so tired when I made it. I've had like the busiest spring and summer, so I took a break for a while to do some self-care. I'm getting my energy back, but I really depleted myself a bit. So for those of you who requested this topic several weeks ago, I'm so sorry that you had to wait this long, but it has super been on my mind and I'm really excited to be here today to share with you. So what I'm talking about today is how to reduce mood swings during menstruation, and really what I'm really going to talk about is how to reduce mood swings and feel better no matter what kind of hormonal changes you're going through, because there are some, hey, Kimberly and Heidi, ooh, two of my faves. There are some Ayurvedic remedies and Ayurvedic practices that kind of cover like across the board, a way for us to be opening up our hormonal system so that we have less blockages, which means less pain, which means less bad mood. Because I know for me personally, when I am blocked or stagnant, like it's going to affect my psyche and my emotional world, and I'm sure it does for you too. So, the reason why I'm talking about this particular topic is a couple of you, actually, several of you asked for this in our group. And I think it's really, really important because as we're mostly women in this group, and as women, I don't think we're taught how to keep our channels open. And we're also not taught that PMS is, like, we're taught that it's a syndrome and that it's symptomatic, but PMS is a sign that your health is off, and really intense hormonal symptoms in general are a sign that your health is off. So where Ayurveda comes in is, okay, let's boost ourselves up from the inside out and from the outside in. So from the inside out, the way that we do that is through internal lubrication. So Kelsey is the woman who originally asked for this particular topic to be spoken about. And she was saying that what she had found online was taking internal lubricants like vitamin E, and I forget what the other one was that she mentioned. But that actually is an Ayurvedic approach as well, is to lubricate the body internally. So if you think of your hormones as being a fluid-based system and they're communicating via a fluid exchange, you want to think like, well, there better be enough fluid in the body and in that particular system for the exchange to be seamless and relatively effortless. It's when we've got pockets of stagnation or blockage, which is another way we talk about ama, which is just a buildup. It's hard for the body to communicate freely when there is a buildup in the especially in a fluid tissue like the hormones, or a fluid body of, I'm not saying it right, but a fluid system like the hormonal system. So taking oils internally like essential fatty acids, which include olive oil, but if we're really going to get into the omega-3s, it's flaxseed oil, it's fish oil, like a really high quality mercury-free fish oil. I love Nordic Naturals. They've got really high standards for how they purify their fish oil. And also just eating flax seeds, eating chia seeds. Chia seeds are actually a blood thinner, a natural blood thinner. So if when you bleed, your blood is especially thick, you could try incorporating more chia seeds into your diet and see if that helps to, loosen things up. You just have to not already be on blood thinners. And you can take chia seeds or flax seeds. I love to take them whole because that's how you're going to get the most essential fatty acid from the seed itself. in water. So I'll take a glass of water, like maybe 8 or 16 ounces, and I'll add 1 to 2 tablespoons of whole flax seeds or whole chia seeds. I'll let them kind of plump up and release their essential fatty acids into the water for, I don't know, 30 minutes, an hour, sometimes a little longer for chia, and then just drink it down. And when you swallow those wet reconstituted seeds, you're also putting in some really great slippery fiber into your gut, which will overall help your body open up and be fluid. So that brings me to the next point, which is to really be fluid, you want to open up your channels. And so I've talked about this before. I will talk about it like 1,000 more times, but self-massage, which most of you are familiar with. If you're interested in Ayurveda, you've been studying Ayurveda, you're just starting to get into it, you know, one of the things that you'll learn pretty quickly is to rub oil into your skin. And so this is from the outside in approach to opening up your channels, and especially your hormonal system channels. So, you know, the touch of your hand on your skin, like you can really kind of firm up your hand and be actually doing self-massage, where you grab the tissue and you really move the tissue underneath your fingers. And you can also use these handy tools. So the fascia blaster, this is actually the face blaster, so it's small enough, the little claws are small enough that you could use this on your face. But for people who have tighter, more bound up tissue, I actually really like this little mini fascia blaster. So, you know, you can imagine if you had cramps and you were noticing stagnation during your period by just how much cramping you get. This is true even if you're perimenopausal. Hey, Wendy. Hey, thanks for watching. You know, you could, I'll stand up to just show this really quick. I like my shirt, straight pride. But, you know, you can really be getting into your abdominal tissue with a tool like this, where the claws are essentially what you would do like that with your fingers, but it's much easier with a tool like this, or with a gua sha, which is like a scraping tool. Same thing, I can really, you know, get into my abdominal tissue before I bleed, not just while I'm bleeding and like, oh, I have cramps. It's good at that time too, but it's going to be real tender at that time. So if you can start to make the kind of practice that I'm talking about, rubbing oil into your skin with the intention of opening up your tissues, especially around your lower abdomen, you know, so you're around your ovaries, your lower back, so you're getting the spaciousness around your sacrum, even around your breast tissue, you will be setting yourself up for a much less painful bleed, and it just really opens everything up. So that can reduce mood swings because there's going to be less pain, less stagnation, less potential for stagnation or cramping. So I love that. And then, of course, anytime we're talking about a fluid system of the body, which is most of the time because we're made up of 70% water, deep hydration. So upping your hydration, especially, you know, I would say midway through your cycle. So post ovulation, like sometimes we'll be pretty juicy around ovulation because estrogen has been high before that. But then estrogen really starts to drop off after we ovulate. And for a lot of us, that can mean that we get a little bit dry. So really upping your fluids at that time, and specifically, you know, adding magnesium to some of your drinks. Like, I know most of us are familiar with this product, Natural Calm. I actually like one of their competitors' products better. It's Source Naturals. It's called Magnesium Serene. Just a little bit of a higher concentration of magnesium. You don't need to use as much of the powder. I think it tastes a little bit better, although I like Natural Calm, it's fine. But putting something like that in your water before you go to bed at night, not only may it help you sleep better that night, but you'll be getting like magnesium into your body regularly before you bleed. Again, like prepping for what you know is to come. And it can also reduce cramps by a lot. And then, of course, magnesium that is from food. So dark leafy greens is the best source. And then not only magnesium from dark leafy greens, but what if you could get at the same time like seaweed in your body? Because seaweed not only has a lot of magnesium, it also has calcium and iron, both of which you really need in that time before you bleed to have yourself be like not only nourished, but again, kind of hydrated on a mineral level, right? Like if we don't have enough mineralization in our tissues, it's hard for our body to absorb water. That's why a lot of you who are super dry will, say something like, but I drink so much water. And I'll say, okay, but do you pee it all out? And they're like, yes. Okay, so we want to compost your tissues with essential fatty acids, really good fats like ghee, and things like magnesium, calcium, potassium, electrolytes. So another source of magnesium you could turn to is a really clean source of electrolyte, like young coconut water. I love to add Vitamineral Green to that. Those of you who have done my RAD cleanse, you already know all about that. There's also a company I love called Hyburst, spelled Hyburst. I've talked about them before in our group. They just make a coconut water based electrolyte powder, and they have one called Berry Beet that tastes so good, and it has no caffeine and it has beets in it, so that's a plus before you bleed because it's blood building beets. But some of the other things that you might be lacking if you do get mood swings is, what if you're anemic? What if you don't have like enough blood building? Then you need iron. So molasses, raisins, stewed prunes, stewed apricots, lentils, tons of seeds, like making your own raw sunflower seed butter or pumpkin seed butter, or if you are a carnivore, eating meat and fish. And then of course spirulina. I love spirulina so much. I know it doesn't work for everyone, but that's definitely one of my go-tos. And then the other thing I want to make sure I say is, before you bleed is the best time of, like, it's like your internal moon is waning, so it's decreasing. So it's such a good time of year to release and fast and just kind of let go. So if you're not hungry, this happens to me quite a lot actually, where the day before my period, whether I know it's coming or not, and a lot of times, and this is just because I don't track it, I don't know my period's coming because I work so much on opening up the channels of my body that I almost never get cramps or breast pain anymore, which I used to. So I won't know my period's coming, but I'll have a day where I'm like, gosh, I'm just not really that hungry today. And I'll kind of think about it and think about when my last period was, and think, oh, I bet I'm going to bleed pretty soon. And so just kind of having that like emptying before you begin, as one of my teachers would say, before you bleed, that can also kind of just open up the channels to release whatever wants to let go. You're not building up ama because you're eating when you're not really hungry, but you feel like you should eat because you just should. That I don't agree with that. I think it's okay to let go, and I think it's really an optimal time to just kind of drink some really, calcium, magnesium, iron rich, fresh vegetable juices, constitute seaweed in water and just drink that water down, make some really delicious broths, and just kind of keep the day before your period like a fluid cleansing day could also be really beneficial. Now, there's one more thing I have to share before I sign off because I think it's super important. And hey, Jackie, my nourishment school assistant coach, Michelle Boss, has already said something about this in our group, but it was a while ago, so it bears repeating. But clary sage essential oil is, it's an antispasmodic, so it's anti-cramping, and it is the female reproductive system go-to essential oil. It's a regulator for the reproductive system, and it can be used in men as well as in women, excuse me. But for menstrual cramps, clary sage is such my go-to. I never leave home without it, and I'll tell you that the times that I have, which were by accident, I was bummed. So I keep it in my purse at all times, and I also keep cypress with me at all times. Now, cypress, another essential oil, is also antispasmodic, but it's more even anti-inflammatory. It's so great for breaking up scar tissue, for breaking up cysts. So those of you who deal with like polycystic ovaries, or you get lots of painful cysts in your breasts, you can be using cypress with some kind of external body oil, right? I like to use castor oil when I'm trying to break down scar tissue or break down a cyst, because it's really deeply penetrative. But then I'll take one of my handy tools, and my website is not quite finished yet, meaning the store on my website, but I'm about to have these for sale on my website like ASAP. I'm so excited. But you can take one of these tools and really be, you know, if you've got cystic ovaries, you want to be on your lower abdomen with these tools, with your cypress, your clary sage, your castor oil, and just really opening things up. I can't even say how much I have seen this make a difference for women. So I'm kind of taking this strange indirect approach. I could talk about like just mood enhancing essential oils and mood enhancing herbs, but I actually think that, you know, lubricating your tissues and then opening up the channels in your body is much more the precursor. And then on top of that, you could be like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, eat citrus because citrus is a happy fruit, and I'm gonna, you know, take lots of vitamin C through strawberries and raspberries and blackberries the first day that I bleed, and, you know, make sure that I'm getting plenty of blood building foods the first day that I bleed so I'm not depleted. But the stuff I've talked about in this video is really the precursor to that. So anyway, trying to keep this short. Thank you for those of you who are here. Oh, Kim, hey, a tincture. So yeah, there's great blood building tinctures. I know you can take seaweed as, I would imagine you can take it as a tincture. I don't recall seeing it, but I don't personally look to tinctures that much. But yeah, if what I'm talking about you could find in tincture form, then yes. And you know, there are like more Western herbs that I'm quite frankly less super familiar with for PMS symptoms, but it's like you've got to be taking them preemptively, not only on the day that you're having cramps or mood swings. So sage tincture is really great for kapha, which I know you're kapha predominant. And sage is definitely, you know, all of the Italian spices like sage, marjoram, oregano, rosemary, basil, they're all really good at opening up circulation. Sage is also really great when you've got like kind of yeast or candida going on. But I don't think that the sage you're referring to is the same as clary sage. It's got to say clary sage to be the essential oil that I'm speaking about. So I'm going to wrap up the video for now, but if you have questions, please ask them in the comments and I'll definitely answer. And if any of you are looking for a resource for where you can get some of the things I've mentioned, I definitely sell them all in my tiny little shop, which will soon be on my website, but it isn't yet. So you can just private message me and ask me what I've got. And yeah, thanks for being a member of Ayurveda Every Day with Talya. So good to be here and so happy to be in this group. So signing off, have a great night.